this is better for me. So, howdy folks, let's have a little look at what we did not yesterday, Tuesday, because on Tuesday we designed a iPad stand, which you will notice is quite different to what we actually designed on straight. Well, not totally different. I made some modifications to it because ultimately the tests were fine. Actually come out pretty good. It was bigger than I thought it was going to be, but I think I actually quite like it. But my little idea about putting a slice through the middle just to connect all these pipes together is what was had to be done, but I've actually made it a lot thicker, just because if you imagine when it's printing on this side here, if there isn't this straight surface here, there's actually quite a strong overhang on this curve. So effectively I just made the slice that we put right the way through the middle much thicker. So now you have these flat surfaces, which mean that when it prints like this orientation, it's actually a better angle to see it. Rather than the overhang, imagine this curve continued all the way to like here, which is where it did go. You've now got much less of an overhang. So this version is actually printing at the moment. I think it'll be fine. Made it much narrower. It didn't need to be as wide as it was. But let's actually just have a little look at the printed one. So I'll just get that up. I haven't got my iPad plugged in today, so I'm just using a screen share. So yeah, this is how it came out. I think straight away the first thing I thought was the bottom's too long, because obviously I was planning on doing a MagSafe version, which I will still do, but the version that doesn't have the MagSafe at the bottom for your phone here doesn't need this extra length. It's not needing balance back to front, it's front to back is where the balance, I mean it does balance fine, but obviously there's a curved surface here. So this curved surface is more where you would worry about things rocking backwards, but it is stable. I mean, I've got it on the desk next to me here with my actual iPad on for this stream. But what I've done is I've chopped this. I brought this in quite a lot, and for the version that's not going to have a MagSafe in here, I've also chopped it on the on this axis here. So it's a little bit like there's less room here. So it's just all together smaller, so it prints quicker. But I think ultimately for the one that's not going to have a MagSafe in, I think this might be the version I go for rather than, do I have the wider ones of it? I mean, so say for example that there was the additional width it was on and the height, so it's quite a bit smaller. But it definitely is not needed. So especially considering I'm using it on a 13-inch iPad Pro, so then if you think you're going to put a normal iPad on, which is a bit smaller again, and then even if people put an iPad mini on, it would look even more ridiculous. So yeah, but I'll test those prints out when they're finished later tonight, and then I'll post on the community feed just with a little look of how they are. But as you can see, you've seen on that on the screenshots here. But yeah, I mean, it's comically long, this bit here. It definitely didn't require that. And this is to be honest, this is one of the things with when you design in CAD, I find anyway, design in CAD in like computer, and scale's a thing that I still find quite difficult. I don't think I've quite often I design things and then when I print them out I'm like, wow, that was bigger than I thought it was, even though I know the dimensions when I'm designing it. So again, this is that thing, and it's not just because I upload everything to MakerWorld and I have like Patreon supporters who pay a license to designs. This is why doing test prints is so important, because that looks fine to me on the computer, and as soon as it came out I was like, yeah, this is actually comical how long this is. It just looks totally not imbalanced physically, but it looks imbalanced as a design. I think really the ideal thing would be if you were to have on, so obviously the whole product has this 15-degree angle, which is what the iPad sits at and what everything's tied to effectively. I think the ideal place for that front to finish would be if we were to take that, just say for sake, that's 15 degrees. So I think really the front of this could do end in there, just to give it a much better aspect. Like it's like several of those 15-degree lines which make the design. And to be fair, that'd be really easy to do. I mean, simple as just put in and then bring it back. It's 2 parts there because I've halved it. But so I might try that. I might give that a test and just see what I think. But for today, now this is a weird idea. It's not weird, it's a lamp. I want to design a lamp today, which is I do a lot. And the bit that, when I say it's weird, the bit that I think is weird is I find heat sinks very, like heat sinks on CPUs and like any sort of cooling heat sink. I find them very like aesthetically pleasing. I find them like they're dense because there's obviously there has to be a lot of surface material in them. A surface area, sorry. I think that like heavily finned design I always really, really like. I've actually designed some bowls in the past which have been inspired by heat sinks. And I think, well, actually, you know what, let's have a little look at that bowl I'm talking about, because it's an interesting, like, now finding it might be another thing, because I did just notice today, I actually think I got to, I don't know why it only says 640, oh, because some are hidden, because I've not uploaded them yet. Well, I've not made them live yet. Do I have? I don't think I do. Let me just go to all my models and search by bowl. I've never actually tried MakerWorld's search feature. Yeah, bowl, not bowls, bowl. Try Heatsink. I don't know if I actually, I mean, I don't know how anybody else is meant to find it if I can't find it. I'm 99% sure that I actually did call it bowl. But no, I'll have to find it later. But yeah, I've always liked the heatsink kind of aesthetic. Which sounds like a bizarre sentence to say, a heatsink aesthetic, but I designed this lamp here. And I think the heatsink that this made me think of, which is being a lamp, is especially relevant, is, you know, you get those when you used to have like halogen lights, which you would have in your bathroom or something like that, and now they're banned. So now we have these like LED ones, and quite often on the back of the LED ones, they have these like crazy heat sinks, and I assume the halogen ones did too, because obviously they were hotter. And that was kind of what I was thinking of here. So if you imagine this line here was cut off and that this was the front of an LED light which goes in your ceiling, all this being fins, each of these being radial fins. And then in here having the LED mounted. Now, what I'm not fully decided on yet is what I would want to do for the diffusion. Would I want fins for that, or would I just want something that dropped in, or would I actually just want it open like this so it shows all the fins, and then a small diffuser goes over here on the cap? I think that probably would be what I would want to do, because it would be just, it would show off the fins more. And then this is how I want the lamp to stand. Like, it's not going to be a vertical lamp, it's going to rest on its side like this, so the cable would come out of this area here. Now, hopefully with the fins, I won't have to put any little legs on to stop it rolling, but if I do, it's not a massive problem. You could put little legs on, or actually just print a little tiny like V-shaped stand, which would then just slot into the fins. So I think that's what I want to do today. So instead of talking about it, Why did you do it? He said with great confidence. So let's get a new window going. Let me just check one thing first. Just want to check the streams up because I'm getting some dropped frames. So just bear with me 1 minute. Well, I can see my beautiful face on the screen here, looking very confused with my eyes doing this. That tells me the stream's working. Right. Back to modelling. So, first things first, we're in millimeters. Now, I'm going to do this 180. I could scale it up. But when you're doing fins, the problem with fins is you set a thickness, and then if you scale it down, if you find you've made it too big, then those fins get thins, and they don't print well. So I always find it with fins that are too thins. I can't wait for the YouTube captions to try and auto-translate this. When the fins are too thins, and you try to shrink it, you get to the point that they're just wobbly and they don't print very well. So it's probably better to go with 180 if I find that it needs to be scaled up. It's not a huge problem because I'm making things bigger. I'm making things thicker as well as bigger. That's the main thing. Things are getting thicker as they get bigger. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to import my just standard stock lamp mount. I always love it when my file manager is up on stream because it's just like you can get to see the wonderful things such as double-sided prong and cutter, new tire assemble using prongs. I mean, you know that's a model. So mount, whereas this, straight to the point, mount. Now, a really annoying thing about this mount is because I have this little arc which are used to key it to lampshades when they sit on top, so I know the pattern on the lampshade matches the pattern on the base, which is some big brain galaxy thinking there. But the problem with it is I've done this a few times actually and not realised, so this is a little top tip for you. So you look at this, it's been imported, it's on the centre. You think when you're going to rotate it, it's central, but it's not, because by default when you go to rotate, it takes the centre of mass, not the arbitrary centre that you think it should be as a human being, surprisingly. So you can see, because there's extra volume here, centre point's actually off. So if you go to rotate it and you're rotating 90 degrees, all of a sudden it's no longer centred. And a few times I've designed stuff and I've not noticed that. And the thing with that is then when I've gone and like done the lampshade, I'm like, well, the lampshade and everything fits because obviously everything's designed together, but I'm like, why is the LED not in the middle? And that's been why. So first thing I do when I bring this mount is I set the pivot point with V to the center where it's imported into. I do find it odd that it imports central. It must have just been in that position when I like saved it as an STP file. Because it's odd to me that it knows to put it centrally like that there on import, but then not. But these are the mysteries. But yeah, tip, if ever you've got something that you think it's not fully symmetrical, just double check your pivot point when you are centering. So I think I'm going to design this top down. I don't know why, I just think my brain prefers thinking of things in vertical when I'm designing them, even though this is going to actually lie horizontally. Well, kind of horizontally. Right, so I'm not even really going to use that right now, but the reason I brought that in is it just gives you a good idea of scale. Now, another thing is I'm just going to add in a circle that is 240 wide. And that's not necessarily, I mean, I think we will need that full size. That's just so I know what size I don't really want to be going over for the build plate. Because again, if you design it too big and then you have to shrink it down, you get into that thin fins. So I'm going to go with 240 wide. Now, ideally 180, because then it would fit in the A1 Mini, but I just think this as an item is going to need to be bigger to just have the impact that you want it to have. I could make a smaller version if it's a popular design. In fact, I mean, we'll see what it looks like when it's done. I think initially, let's just go for a 25mm straight edge here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to design the profile, make it into a fin, and then radial array the fin. But this is always a bit that I think just needs lots of finagling. Oh, hurt. Didn't expect to be saying finagling today. So let's. What do I like for the Let me have a little look at I'll just look at it myself rather than have to make you suffer through it again. Actually, so I went quite aggressive on my sketch. And what I did on my sketch is I also had it curved at the top here, which, yeah, that will be possible if we print it from the base. I think I like that, but that's too aggressive an overhang. So this is the thing, you see. So if we print it, imagine this is the bottom, and we print it that way, that overhang will be too big. And that contact area is smaller. If we do it so we are effectively printing other way around, so this, that means you have to have a flat surface there. Don't think it's like what I'm wanting, so it might be better. I'm gonna just hide that curve and I'm gonna bring this out a little bit just to see what sort of shape I can get. Let me just see. I really don't want more than the 45-degree angle if I can get away with it. $45 by the looks of it. Right. Let's go with that. And actually, let's bring the whole thing in a little bit, because I think that does look quite wide. Now the light's not going to go here, the light's going to be further up, but first stream sneeze. Achievement unlocked. Right. I hope you all said bless you, otherwise I'll be smited by Satan for the rest of my days. So let's make this into a fin. Now 3.6, and I've pressed tab to do it both directions. Let's try 2mm, so that'll make a 4mm fin. What do I think about that as a thin fin? I think the easiest way to know whether I like it is just to radial it, and we'll just see how we feel. I feel that looks a little thick, but it could also be that not a fillet on the edge. Just what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1/2 mil off. Sounds like nothing, but both sides it's a mil. And before doing the radial, I'll the radial array, I'll add a fillet because otherwise I'll have to do it 300 times. Now, let's have a little look at what we think of this as an array. Now, how many do I want? Now, I want it to be an even number. Quite like that. Let's go with that. So that was 50, because I can guarantee you in about 15 seconds I'm going to say I need to change the fin and I'll delete them all. So remember, stream, remember 50. So what volume do I want? Yeah, so I'm actually going to delete these fins. Yeah, let's delete all those fins, because what we could do with is figuring and just getting this internal shape here sorted. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take those curves we did, join them, offset them, might offset them a bit more. So what I'm being careful about here is I don't want to make these two smaller fins as well, like in actual center to circumference of the circle that they're making up. Because I will have to put braces as they go up, because tall thin bits as they print start doing this. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's not ideal for 3D printing this sort of motion. So yeah, I'm gonna have to like make them rigid to each other. And the best way to do that is just effectively add some bracing inside. Let's just bring this up to where I think I'd want it. I'd probably want it about here. Now, obviously, what I'm going to do is I'm going to integrate it into the fins. I think what I'll then do is I will put a line here. Let's turn off X-ray now. I absolutely hate X-ray and I don't know why. I think it's just busy. Right, well, that was precisely not what I wanted. So let's just get all of these. Scale Z, scale Y, because on Y, not Z. And then let's grab on the Y and bring them to this line. Yeah, and then that gives us a solid. And basically, I just wanted to make a little bit more at the top here. Which I'm not going to include right now. I'm just going to hide that just to see how I feel about it when it looks revolved. Not revolved. A rotated array. A radial array, sorry. Yeah, I like. So are these contacting in any place? They're not, which is good. That's good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a circle here. going to come all the way out to here. I'm just going to pull this up a few mil. What did we say the other one? It was 4 in the end, wasn't it? So we'll do 4. Right, let me get that first fin. I'm going to duplicate it and put it in a group. Just so if I decide I want to do something different with them, I've got the original fin. And then add all these curves. So that would be the basic gist of it. Now I'm gonna have to put at least another 2 braces in. So I think I'll put a 1 there and a 1 possibly here. So this one should actually just be the same as the one I did before. So I can just use this same circle. So if we go up. Now, in an ideal world, I wouldn't have to add these because I think they do detract a little bit from the aesthetic, but can't do anything about it. It won't. It just won't print. What I could have done is a couple more fins, and then they would have actually contacted slightly, so then this would have been a solid surface. But quite like the idea of these tiny little gaps. So I'm just going to keep it this way. I'll just do another circle in here that comes to there. Yeah, so now I've got a donut rather than a ring like I have at the bottom. Just checking everything's working still, because I'm getting some weirdly dropped frames today. I think it's our internet's on a bit of a jank today. So I will chamfer them in just to try and make them as minimal as possible. Let's save this. Lamp finned. Lamp finned. So let me have a little look at my sketch again. So I think what we want is the mount to be, let's put a sectional analysis on so we can see clearly. I think we probably want the mount about here. And if I don't, yeah, if I put it about there, then it's recessed in enough. And what I'm thinking is I could chop across here like that and chop those bits off at the top there. Now, not necessarily to get rid of them, but what I'm thinking is I could then print a separate part that acted as like a top. I don't really know if I want to do that or not. I think a cooler idea would be, first of all, do I actually like that extra bit at the top. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually do the cut. I always say this, but sometimes you just have to do things to literally just to delete the idea from your head. Well, I do anyway, because I just let ideas run away with me. So this might look bad, but it doesn't really matter, does it? We just press undo. So let's just hide those for a second. Yeah, so straight away, no, it's better with them on. But I think what it is I don't like the angle of them. So, you know what? Rather than deleting them, I'm going to delete all but one. And then we can maybe have a little look to see what we think about doing with this shape. So what I think would be better, this is why I'm going to wish I didn't have fillets. Everybody always says do fillets last. Do fillets last. Don't do fillets until the very last thing. Do I listen? No. So I'm trying to think about what sort of form I want this. So essentially what I don't like is this super flat top and this box. It just looks like exactly what it is, which is a square stuck on the top. So should I try a circle? Just thinking of shapes. Like cut like that. Let me have a look at my... Ah, right. Right, so what I did when I do this is curve on the outside straight down to where the light is on the inside, which I remember seeing that on the examples I looked at for lights. So, right, let's just take that straight edge here as it's fine. But what we want is to effectively fill it off this, and then we can use... Probably we could go half the height actually, probably chop this in half. So what I'm thinking of, let me get a section analysis on so it's a bit easier to see. So I'm thinking if we fillet this off so it's curved, maybe about there, and then we make a straight section of the fin here so it's not the same on the inside as the outside. This is one of those things that looks right on the sketch, but then I'm not convinced it's the right approach. But so I'm just going to do an ISO on there so I can steal this line so I've got something to bridge from. So if I was to do like this, I want that on the inside. I think I do prefer that. I definitely prefer that. Let's just do the array and see what we think when there's lots of them. Yeah, I definitely prefer it, but I think I do need to do something about this fillet. Don't add tangent edges. Yeah, that's what I want. Let's get rid of these curves. .5. Yeah. Now, am I actually happy with this internal here, or do I want... Let me just put a line in here. So what I'm thinking is do you want to do not... I still don't like this bit here. So if I was to put a line like that to give us this angle, right, let's just try and bridge in a curve there to see what sort of stuff we get. Think about this. I don't want it that far. I want it to chop, so obviously we'd have to cut this as well. I don't know what I think. It's definitely better than the straight. So let's just get that line back again. This here. And then cut. Yeah, we're not going to be able to, are we? Do this though. Yeah. So effectively done there is pulled it, and then because it's smart and it knows the curves that it's running, it effectively just goes with the angle of the curve that's on its face, which is this here. So can we... Yeah, 1.5 was it? Yeah. So now will these meet? I don't think they will. I think ultimately... Oh, they do meet. Nah, not right though. Not perfect. Yeah, not at the back. I think the better way to do this might be actually to just hide this. And make like a surface model it, but so like maybe I'm not sure if this will work, but so all I'm really doing here is making a smaller version of the same geometry. Oh, it's not joined, that's right. Just thinking of making a smaller version of the geometry that we can then loft into and just see what it looks like. So if we get rid of this surface here, so this is now a sheet. Let's just add a surface so the tangency's got something to calculate off. Right. Yeah, we need G1. Let's get on these here. Got a bit of a funny kink in there, haven't we? I think it's that middle line. Can I get rid of them? I don't think I can, because I think that's effectively, it's effectively where the fillet meets in the middle. Yeah. I'm not sure it's any better than what. I mean, I would chop the top off and then make it a dome across there, but let's just try one more time with it. Let's just actually try purely. Let's bridge those curves and see if we give it a guide, whether it's any better. Yeah, I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, let's try this then. I might as well bridge this as well, just to give it another guide. I think I'll leave those G2. So now at least this way, this surface here has got, it's like fully defined, it's got surfaces to connect to everywhere. So just making you dizzy because made me dizzy. I don't know why. Right, well these join. For some reason I don't feel like these are going to join. They joined. And they joined to the main body. So let's just get rid of this bit again. Now I'm going to take this line here and bridge it to this one. There is not one there. Because you need to add it. So bridge from here to here. Now, this is going to be a cut line. My thoughts are, if I find an angle or a line that I quite like, oh, this is a bad idea. Yeah, it's a bad idea. Just out of interest, if we loft that to there. I don't think I like this. Do you know what I think it is? I think it takes away from that heatsink look. It's more, I think it's a bit better when it's straight. Yeah, I think I'm going to get rid of this. You know what? This is just me experimenting now, because I can get this model in 5 minutes, but I'm kind of now interested about what this is going to do. Let's bring that to the end and that to the end. So I think I've got X, yeah. So I've got the studio edition, so I've got X NURBS. So this is not going to work. But I never use X NURBS, and X NURBS is basically like a really advanced thing for surfacing. I was just wondering if I could give it that guide and it would figure out what I meant. It doesn't, but I mean, I think you could probably loft. If you could do this. No, you couldn't. It's too aggressive. Yeah, intersects that way. Where's that bit I cut off? Sometimes the simplest solution is just the best one. Right, so rather than have to redo every fin, let's just cut this top off and radial it. Because I think all the rest will be the same, or will they not be because I made that change? No, they're not. Right, we'll have to do the fin then. That's not really a problem, is it? Hide this. So what's the best way to do this? So if we treat that as the middle of the fin and we radial array, it's still on 50. So if we change it to 100, yeah. So if we change that to 100, now we've got the ability to cut this and then this. And then all of this can be hidden. And then I believe we can just do this 50 and we'll be back to where we started. 100 looks cool and all, doesn't it? Oh wow, I should not have done that. I didn't realise I was just trying to boolean 50 bodies at once there, which on my new computer worked a treat, but whew, God, that would have made things explode on my old one, which was not even well, it was a bloody brilliant computer, but let's get rid of all these lines. So let me just rotate this just to have a little look at what I think when it's sat down. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. Wicked. What's this bit here? Oh, it's where I cut the cut it before. I'd also cut this. We're back in one. So let's get my mount. Now, how am I feeling about where the mount's going to go? Do I definitely want it that position? I think I do. And the good thing about the mount being here as well is it's more contact area, so there's even less space, where less height where it's unsupported left to right, the fin. So really the only it's going to be from here upwards, which I think should be fine. I'm notoriously bad at guessing this though, which is why I go through 4,000 tons of printed filament a year. Right, well, if we're going to do this, we can't have that. Can't have that overhang there. So let's do this. So now when it's printing upwards, there isn't an overhang. Now this lip here is for E14 and I think E14 bulbs, but this is going to use the LED. So I think what I'll do is I'll print a cap that goes on here that acts as a diffuser. So we don't actually need that little nodule on here. There's another word that's going to be fun to see what the auto captions on YouTube say. So on the mount, this slot here is what I have designed for diffusers. So we'll be able to use that on this design. And I think there'll be enough. Well, that's a good question, David. That's a good question. So what I'm thinking is that obviously it's going to sit in here and the cable comes like this, doesn't it? Now, generally, let me look at this on the side. So the cable would come down here. It might be worth chopping a little bit out this fin. Just so there's a bit more clearance for the cable to run down. But I'm not going to do that in case I don't have to. I think what might be a good idea actually is to just, yeah, let's just do a little bit like bring the circle up to here. Let's bring it up to the top so you can see. And just extrude a little bit out. Now, it's technically doing that everywhere, but everywhere else is where the mount is, so it doesn't really matter. But there, it just means there's a bit more for the cable to come down. And I can probably also just push these ones out a little bit. Yeah, that's a good idea. It just means that it's got, if you think the cable has to bend over, it needs a little bit of space to do so. And I'll just fillet them in a bit just so they're not as... It might actually, because they're now going to have less connection, I'm actually going to take the time to just put in a little brace across them. Because they'll be more prone to wobbling. These little things that when you're designing like lamps especially, you think, oh, it's pretty simple design, and it is a pretty simple design, but there's always just these little things. And I mean, that's the difference between designing stuff for a render and designing stuff for a print. If it's going to be an actual product, then it has to work. I don't need that anyway. So what we now need is a hole for the wire to come out the bottom. So I think it's here. It's where we'd want it. Of course, we need it more in the middle, don't we? Because we've got all those fins. Yeah, that's the right side. I wanted the hole to be on the same side as where the wire comes down, but it'll need to be big enough for the switch, the little button, and I think that yeah, that's big enough. I don't think we'll need add legs because we went with an even number of fins. They'll be able to rest there. So I think that's pretty good. I actually quite like it now with that. I think it was actually worth spending the time just to mess about backwards and forwards to get this curve here. Because that was the original. That was the original, sorry. Yeah, I definitely prefer that. I have to say, it's one of the things about streaming 3D modeling is I do like to be open with like the little like bits, the little struggles and the bits where you're just like, I don't really know how to get that. All right, not that I don't know how to get it, but it's more that I don't know if this is going to be worth it. And especially when you start to understand the software, you sit there and you go like, right, I know there's maybe 20 steps to do this, and you're looking at it and think, right, I'm not sure this is going to be worth it. And the backtracking that occurs from that. And I think a lot of 3D modeling channels and stuff. Not there's some fantastic, and no way is this to be taken as me slating people who do 3D modeling on YouTube, because that is the way I learned. Quite a lot of them are edited videos that I see anyway. Maybe there's, you know, rather than the pure live stream, because the pure live streams, you know, we live in an age of brain rot where constant 15-second dopamine hits are the only way that people are engaged. And I'd love to say that me sitting squinting at the screen, moving a fillet to 6mm, is going to hit the dopamine tap for everybody that it hits for me, but that isn't the truth. So a lot of content for 3D modeling is edited, cut heavily, and I'm doing that as well myself. I am taking all these live streams and starting to edit them down to more snappy 20-minute things. But it's good to do them like this, where you can just be like, you know what, I went down a path and that path wasn't the path to go down, so I turned around. Because we just live in this era where we think perfection is just there and you just take it, but it's not, and it requires an awful lot of just backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. Like, people will look at my Maker World account and go, oh wow, what a great designer, you know, he does all these things, but there's loads of failures in there as well, and there's loads of things that never make it up there. And there will be loads of streams I do in the future where I get to the end of it, I go, this is crap and I don't want to use it. And that in itself has value. Well, I think it does anyway. And I hope people do find that it has value. But I think we'll make a diffuser now, rather than me just rambling on about the brain rot of the human race. As if I'm not part of the human race and I don't have incredible levels of brain rot, which I do. I think one of the reasons 3D modeling and 3D design stuck with me was it is very satisfying. There's this element of iterative. Did you hear a cat sneezing in the background there? Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed in this stream, but just here, underneath my finger, boop, there's a cat in bed. I've previously locked him out of streams because he's a chatty little devil. But today I just thought, you know what, you're going to have to be in here at some point when I stream, because he sleeps in here every day. So he's in here. So any minute now. Oh, the bathing has begun. Ooh, he could be up any second now. Prepare yourself for the black cat. It's not just that the stream's black and white. He is actually a black cat. Nobody in the world will give an absolute toss that my cat is behind me getting ready to get up, but God, I love the little sausage to bits. So I'm just making a little slot-in diffuser here. Now I will cut a chunk out of it there so the cable can run. Yeah, what was I saying? Like, I think part of the reason that 3D modeling works for me, and it's something I've stuck at for as long as I have, as somebody who's not very good at sticking at things, it's just when you're designing, it's a million little hits of wow, that was cool, that worked, wow, that works, oh, I've got an idea, I'll execute it, or I'll have a go at it. It never really feels the same. And I think that's why I said on the stream the other day when I did the book nook, I was glad it was done, because it was like, that was 8 hours, 4 streams, plus all the rest that I did off stream. So I was really ready for it to be done. And that's no slight on it as a thing. It's just, I like new. I like having ideas and executing on ideas. Like, this morning I literally didn't have any idea what I was going to do on the stream, and that's fine. That would panic a lot of people. I'm a bit weird like that. Stuff like that doesn't panic. I just think there's a million things rocking around in that head. It'll come. Do you know what would be a better idea either? I'm trying to like peek through the castle. What are they called, the bits of the castle? Castle. I want to say castle funyuns, but it's not funyuns. Crenellations. Try to peep through the crenellations here. Just get rid of it. Idiot. So yeah, I'm just making a bulb-looking diffuser here, using like a simple loft. It's not going to be a bulb-looking diffuser because it's not going to be a full dome, but just want a bit of a taper to it. That means I can bring it away from the light a little bit. Join. Join. Oh, they're already joined, that's right. Is that just extra I get? I have to admit, I do sometimes. Right, I've not lofted it, that's why. Sometimes find that the grey in Plasticity can be a little bit visually difficult. But I've tried the other ones as well. I think it's just more of a me thing. Because obviously you can change things to be like, this one's really good. I mean, it's for normal, checking normals and stuff, but as a Newcastle United fan, obviously a huge fan of the zebra analysis, otherwise known as the barcode analysis, otherwise known as the Bruno Guimaraes analysis. So that's all one. So what just happens if I just loft, face has succeeded, but a face-to-face inconsistency has been produced. What a fun error. Don't want that. Don't want that. I think I just want, like, just bring this up and I don't even really think I want much of it to be much bigger. Just let's shift J that just to make it a surface. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of. Still a bit more. I don't know why I hold my breath. Do you know what I should have done? I should have just made this a solid rather than doing all this bloody surface modelling. I should have just made it a solid and then flipping made it fit. Like, why have I made it so complicated for myself? Just make it a solid and run a hollow command on it. I think I do actually want that, but just cut Yeah, I think that's more what I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Promise. So, hollow. Hollow, hollow. Let's just do -1. That's a diffuser. Let me add in a section analysis just so I can have a little check. I'm not getting any nah, there's no interference there, is there? Yeah, we could actually add a bit back in. Let's just make it a tiny bit thicker. It's not done all the way around. It has. Right. This is where I bring the body in and go, I flipping hate it. I flipping hate it. I do as well. Oh, I've made it far too big. Yeah, I want it like... you muppet. Yeah, that's far too big. I want it to be like... let's say... about there. So I'll have to redesign it. Thankfully, software good, me bad. So, with a fair wind and a great attitude, of which I certainly don't have a great attitude, might just be able to loft these two things together, and then the job will be a good one. That little tease has gone back to sleep. I thought he was going to come and say hello. Actually, just going to go straight. Now, that's not necessarily the best aesthetic, but you won't really see this bit. The reason I'm doing that is it's better for the overhang, because the tangents attempting to make a G1 connection or a G2 connection means it has to have a steep initial bit. Now this will print this way, so I might end up changing these as well, these fillets at the top, because they're a bit aggressive, aren't they? Well, they're not a bit aggressive, they're a bit not going to print. Does he love plasticity? Like, that is just flipping marvellous. How cheeky do I feel like being here? Yeah, that should be okay. I think it is. I think I could actually just do the whole thing being lower. The whoa. Whoa. To be fair, I haven't actually plugged in. Oh, I have, haven't I? Oh no, I haven't. The mount's still there. So if I select the mount and select the diffuser, you notice I haven't named anything today after my... God, sometimes I look tiny in this camera. I'm 6'5". No, I'm going to leave it where it is. Doing that thing where I'm overthinking. Because actually, if I was to just bring it this even further in... Yeah, and I'll achieve that by simply chopping the bottom of those fins off so they don't intersect. The red areas are where we're getting intersections. Well, you know what? I actually like that. I do have great fears this is going to be like a day print, because you find with fin stuff, you use a lot more material than you think, because it's all solid almost. There's not really like a lot of room for infill in here, so the slicers just go like, oh, just do it all edges. So I bet that is going to, and do you know what, I'm actually going to have a little look while we're on stream here just to see. Let's just export it. I won't have bamboo slicer on the screen because it's not set up to do so, but bear with me if something explodes while I do this. Right, what's your guess? It's not in yet, but I'm guessing it would help if it had the mount in. This could be like a really, like, some seriously nerdy, you know, there's that great website, Guess the Game. Guess the screenshot, or what? No, Guess the Game, where you guess the screenshot, which I'm absolutely hideously good at. Like, genuinely upsets me how good I am at it. Considering I can't remember what day the bin is, but I can remember that 4-pixel square from that one shot is Metal Gear from the NES, which is a game I've never played, but somehow I know that is that. We could do like a Guess the Slicer, where you're shown a model and you have to guess how long it takes to slice. So I'm going to guess do some serious computation went on there. I'm going to guess 1 hour and 1 day. 1 hour. I guess 1 day. No, I'm going to guess 16 hours. 16 hours with a 0.28 layer. I'm hitting slice plate now. It's taken a long time, which tells me there's a lot of things going on. Did I say 16 hours? 16 hours and 14 minutes. And I'm not having you lot not believe me on this one, so one fair moment. Oh, I can't get it. Oh, I know what I can do. Screenshot. Bang. Capture. Let's go to... Bloody knew setting up Goodreads would be a good idea. Look at this. Now, I know the doubters in the chat are going to be like, oh, you said a day and then switched to 16 hours. Well, I'm telling you, that was a good guess. And now I'm not even that sure I said 16 hours, which is how my brain works, but that's actually better than I thought it was going to be. And less than a kilo of filament. That's the other thing I was thinking, they might end up being... Like, if something's like a whole roll of filament, I'm just like, there's not any point uploading that. I could probably optimize that more as well to get that down probably about 13. But yeah, I think that's been a success. Pretty pleased with that. I will set that as a test print away probably tomorrow. I'm going away at the weekend, so I won't be streaming tomorrow. Which I'm excited to go away. I'm only going away for a couple of days, but a little bit disappointed because I don't like buggering up my schedule. I'm best when I stick to a schedule, but it is what it is. So that'll do for today. I will share some pictures of the iPad stand when it's done. The new shrunken down version that's not as comically long. I will do my shill. Bang, that's me. That's me on Maker World. There's all these lovely sumptuous models you can get your blips around. I'm just going to pick a random one. Pick a random one and talk about, bang, Instax holders. These are really easy to design. Have been very popular. One of my most popular ones, actually. I'm just thinking, I think I've got other Instax ones I've not got around to uploading, actually. But anyway, yeah, little diamond ones, simple mirrored patterns in Plasticity. Probably took me about 25 minutes to design. I had to go through a couple of iterations of how thick so they hold the pictures properly, because the first one, like, the merest breeze would blow the photo out, which I think when you're designing a photo holder, one of the key aspects of it is that it holds the photo. So that required a little bit of refinement, but that's a thing that you can sell on your Etsy store. You just simply have to join the membership on MakerWorld or go to my Patreon site, which is linked somewhere on my YouTube page. 3 tiers. One is just, wow, what a guy. Just want to give you a few quid. Thank you, I know. The second one is you can use the models. You can sell the models in your Etsy store, only the physical print versions, by the way. You are not under any circumstances allowed to sell the model files. And then the top tier is the same, but you also get use of the images. So it's a little bit of a one-stop shop for sorting out your Etsy store if you just want to do that. So yeah, have at it. I have started the process of cutting down the Book Nook live stream into what I'm going for is 20-minute episodes. They're a bit more snappy, they're a bit more bish bash bosh, brain rot suitable, so hopefully some actual people will be able to watch them. I think the first one of those goes up today at 4 o'clock. So if you just happen to be like hanging around YouTube and your thumbs are feeling itchy, just like hit there's a big thumbs up button, press that, and then press subscribe. You probably subscribe, comment, tell the world how amazing it is, feed the algorithm. And I'm going to work through the Book Nook. I'm going to try and do as much as possible, and where I think it works, do shorter episoded versions of live streams. So there's a little less of me going and sitting like that for 30 seconds at a time, and a little less of me squinting at the screen, and a little bit more just like crash bang wallop. So you can look forward to that. Everybody loves a bit of crash bang wallop. So that'll do for today. I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday. I think I said on Tuesday, Friday will be fantastic. I did say today might not be a good one, so you are warned. Fantastic Friday. If you're one of those lucky people that doesn't have to work the weekends, live life to the fullest. Enjoy every second of it. Breathe in the air. Stare at the stars. Absolutely marvel at the clouds. Just have a wonderful time. Have fun. And I shall see you next week. Bye bye.